Have you ever felt like everything you've learned about love was a lie? They told us love would complete us, that someone out there, our perfect half, is waiting to make the ache go away. We grew up on fairy tales, on lines like, "You complete me," on films where two lonely souls find each other and suddenly everything makes sense. But what if love isn't meant to soothe you? What if it's meant to awaken you? When I first fell in love, I thought I had found safety. But soon, I realized that real love, deep love, didn't just hold me. It exposed me. It showed me the parts of myself I hadn't dared to meet. And in doing so, it forced me to grow. Carl Jung once said, "Where love rules, there is no will to power." But what does that really mean? What kind of love rules not through comfort, but through transformation? In this video, we're not just exploring romance. We're walking into the heart of Jungian love, a kind of love that doesn't promise perfection, but demands truth. A love that doesn't shelter you from your fears, but leads you straight through them. Over the next 35 minutes, we'll uncover 10 signs of this rare, sacred form of love. Some of them might shake what you believe, others might echo something you've always felt, but couldn't put into words. So take a breath, open your heart, and ask yourself, are you ready to love? Not to be completed, but to become complete? Let's begin. Growing up, many of us were fed a single seductive story, that love is the ultimate escape. It's where the pain stops, where loneliness ends, where someone comes along, sees all the good in you, and makes you feel whole. In Britain, we've seen it over and over again, in films like Notting Hill, in lines like, "I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy." It's poetic, it's moving, but it's also misleading. Carl Jung believed that love isn't here to save you, it's here to shape you. When we treat love as comfort, we approach it like a soft bed, warm, reassuring, and undemanding. But real love isn't a duvet on a cold night, it's a mirror, and not always a flattering one. The truth is, love is meant to be a crucible, a container where who you think you are gets burned away, and who you truly are begins to emerge. It doesn't come to erase your struggles, but to illuminate them. Think of someone falling in love not because they're ready, but because they're lonely. They seek relief, not revelation. And for a while, the relationship feels like salvation. But soon, they find themselves confronted by jealousy, by fear, by unmet parts of their own soul. They wonder, why is this so hard? But Jung would say, it's hard because it's working. Because the real function of love isn't to hide your wounds, it's to reveal them. So the first lie we were told, that love is the end of the story, the happy ever after, the rescue. But the truth, love is the beginning of work, of growth, of becoming. And that is where the journey truly starts. Next, let's explore the difference between a love that clings and a love that frees. I love you. 3 words that can mean 1,000 things. Sometimes they mean, I cherish you. But too often, they really mean, I need you to stay close, to fill this emptiness, to make me feel safe. Possessive love wears many masks. It can look like passion. It can sound like devotion. But beneath it often lies fear. Fear of being alone, of losing control, of not being enough. In the UK, where emotional restraint is often a cultural norm, this kind of subtle possessiveness can fly under the radar. A partner who always wants to know where you are, who just worries when you don't reply straight away. It can feel sweet, caring. But is it love, or is it anxiety in disguise? Carl Jung saw possessiveness as a sign of the ego's fear, not the soul's wisdom. He taught that real love cannot come from lack, it comes from wholeness. Imagine holding someone in a closed fist. You may keep them close, but you also crush their ability to breathe, to move, to be themselves. Now imagine holding them in an open palm, free yet present. That is the difference. True love liberates. It doesn't say, "Don't leave me." It says, "Be all of who you are, and if you choose to stay, let it be from freedom, not fear." This kind of love requires trust, not blind trust, but the kind born from self-trust. When you are rooted in your own wholeness, you no longer need to grip. You can stand beside another without leaning on them for balance. Consider a partner who encourages your solo weekend trip, who celebrates your career ambitions, who doesn't flinch when you say, "I need space." That isn't distance, that is deep respect. Jung once wrote, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power." Possessiveness is about power, disguised as love. But liberation, that's where love begins to breathe. So ask yourself, does your love grasp, or does it give? In the next chapter, we'll look even deeper into the parts of our partners that we're taught to avoid, their shadow. We're often told to look for someone kind, stable, joyful, someone who makes us feel good. But real love is not about comfort alone. It's about depth. And depth means darkness too. Carl Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves we push away. Anger, fear, shame, even talents we're too afraid to own. And when we fall in love, we don't just meet someone else. We meet their shadow too. But here's the thing. Most of us fall in love with a version of a person, not the real one, the projected one, the one who seems flawless, who reflects everything we long for. It's only when the projection fades, when the anger surfaces, the insecurities show up, the walls come down, that the real work of love begins. Can you stay, not just for their light, but for their shadow? Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine someone in a relationship where everything was smooth, until stress hit. One partner grew cold and withdrawn, the other grew reactive. Suddenly, the person they fell in love with seemed to disappear. But here's what's really happening. The shadow is rising. Jung would say, don't run. Look closer. That coldness? It may be a fear of vulnerability. That anger? It may be pain speaking through defense. If you can hold that space, not to fix, but to witness, you are loving beyond illusion. You are loving the real. This doesn't mean tolerating harm. The shadow is not an excuse for abuse, but it is a call to awareness. Because when you can say, I see you, even here, even now, you offer a kind of healing no fantasy can give. And when both people do this, when both reveal their shadows and choose to stay, that's intimacy, not perfection. Presence, Jung said. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So maybe what disturbs you in your partner is actually a reflection, a doorway into your own growth. In the next chapter, we'll explore just that. How real love doesn't just see you, it transforms you. Many people enter relationships hoping they'll be accepted just as they are. And while love must begin with acceptance, true love doesn't let you stay unchanged. It invites you to grow. Carl Jung described love as a process of individuation, the becoming of the self. And in relationships, this means that your partner should not be a pedestal or a caretaker, but a catalyst. Think about it. Who in your life has made you grow the most? It's often not the ones who agreed with you, soothed you, or kept you comfortable. It's the ones who challenged you, who called you out, not to criticize, but to call you forward. In a Jungian relationship, your partner is not your rescuer. They're a mirror. They reflect back your fears, your longings, your unrealized dreams. And through this reflection, you're invited to evolve. Picture someone who's always wanted to write, but never believed in their own voice. Then they meet a partner who doesn't just tell them they're talented. They make space for that part of them to emerge. They ask, why not now? They buy them notebooks. They protect their quiet time. That's not pressure. That's sacred encouragement. Real love doesn't demand you grow to meet someone else's standards. It supports you in becoming who you already are, beneath the fear, beneath the noise. Of course, growth is uncomfortable. You may feel exposed. You may resist. You may even want to retreat to the comfort of the old. But Jung would say, that tension, it's the fire of transformation. A partner who challenges you gently, lovingly, consistently, who says, I see more in you, is not diminishing you. They are witnessing your becoming. And when love becomes a space where both people are growing, not shrinking, when each soul is unfolding, not hiding, something sacred happens. So ask yourself, does your love make you braver? In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when the heat of passion begins to cool, and whether love can survive the fall from fantasy. You meet someone. There's a spark, a pull you can't explain. Suddenly the world feels brighter. They feel like home, destiny, magic. But is it love, or is it projection? Carl Jung observed that when we fall in love quickly and intensely, we're often not falling for the person, but for the part of ourselves we see in them. The image, the symbol, the ideal. He called these inner images the anima and animus, feminine and masculine archetypes that live within each of us. They guide our desires, shape our fantasies, and when someone seems to fit them, the chemistry is electric. But here's the catch. It's not real. Not yet. You're not seeing the person. You're seeing your longing. It's like falling in love with a mirror, but only the parts you like. The mystery, the confidence, the warmth, the certainty. Eventually that mirror cracks. Maybe they say something that jolts you. Maybe they show a side you hadn't imagined. Maybe they stop playing the role you cast them in, and suddenly the magic fades. This is the moment most relationships end, because what we fell for was never truly them. But here's the opportunity. Jung would say this is not the death of love, it's the birth of it. When projection fades, you get a choice. Will you now love the real person? Can you love them not for how they made you feel, but for who they truly are, flaws and all? This is where intimacy begins. When passion gives way to presence. When fantasy dissolves and something more grounded, more human, more enduring takes its place. And if both people stay, if they choose each other again, without illusion, that's not the end of the story. That's the start of something rare. So, ask yourself, do you still choose them, now that the glow has dimmed? Do they still choose you? If yes, then love has moved from projection to truth. Next, we'll explore what happens when you stop looking for someone to complete you and begin claiming your own wholeness. You complete me. It's one of the most quoted lines in film history. Romantic, dramatic, and utterly misleading. Carl Jung warned us about this myth, the idea that another person can make us whole. He saw it as a dangerous illusion, one that leads not to connection, but to codependency. When you believe you're incomplete, you enter relationships with a silent contract. Make me feel whole. Fix what I can't face alone. But love that begins in lack quickly turns to need. And need is not the same as love. In Britain, we're often raised to be emotionally self-reliant on the outside, but many still carry this inner longing. If only someone would understand me, validate me, save me. But here's the truth. No one can do that for you. Not fully. Not forever. Real love doesn't come from emptiness. It comes from two people who've faced their own depths, who aren't perfect, but who take responsibility for their own healing. In a whole relationship, no one is a rescuer. No one is a patient. Each person stands on their own ground and chooses freely to walk together. You can see it in couples where each person maintains their individuality. They support each other, but don't absorb each other's moods. They can spend time apart without spiraling. They disagree, but still feel safe. That's not detachment, that's maturity. It's not you complete me, it's I am whole, and I welcome you into my wholeness. And when both people meet from this place, the relationship isn't a crutch, it's a celebration, a space where each can grow, not just survive. Jung taught that when we ask others to complete us, we project our unmet needs onto them. We make them into gods or demons. But either way, we stop seeing them clearly. So ask yourself, do I want this person, or do I want what I hope they'll fix in me? If love makes you smaller, more dependent, more afraid to stand alone, it's not yet mature. But if it strengthens your sense of self, if it makes space for both togetherness and solitude, then you've stepped into something rare. In the next part, we'll explore why the most powerful love stories often feel spiritual, and why that's no accident. Some moments in love defy explanation. A glance that feels ancient. A meeting that seems destined. A sense, deep in your bones, that this person was meant to cross your path. Carl Jung didn't dismiss these moments as fantasy. He called them synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that hint at a deeper order. To Jung, love wasn't just emotional or psychological, it was spiritual. At its highest form, love reflects the archetype of the hieros gamos, the sacred union, not just between two people, but between opposites, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, soul and self. When two people come together in this way, it's not just romance, it's initiation. They become mirrors for one another's growth, not idols to be worshipped, but sacred images to be honored. Through each other, they awaken what lies dormant within. This kind of love isn't about bliss, it's about reverence, not perfection, but presence. You'll see it in couples who treat their relationship not as an escape, but as a practice. They sit in silence together. They dream together. They fight, but use the tension to learn, to listen, to deepen. They speak not just of goals and tasks, but of meaning, symbols, purpose. In such relationships, the mundane becomes holy. A shared meal becomes a ritual. A disagreement becomes a chance to heal. A long walk becomes a space for the soul to breathe. And yet, Jung warned, when the sacred is misunderstood, it becomes dangerous, inflated, romanticized. You can mistake intense emotion for divine truth. You can elevate a partner into a savior. But true spiritual love is humble. It's found not in fireworks, but in firewood, in the daily tending of something precious. So ask yourself, does your love open you to wonder, to mystery, to something beyond your ego? If so, you may be walking a sacred path, one that doesn't separate body from soul, but sees both as holy. Next, we'll explore the role of conflict, and how it might just be love's most powerful teacher. No one wants to fight, and yet, in every relationship, no matter how loving, conflict arises. We argue, we shut down, we say things we regret. And when that happens, we often think, something must be wrong. But Carl Jung saw it differently. He believed that conflict in love isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of transformation. You see, when someone gets close to you, truly close, they don't just see your smile. They bump into your wounds. They activate your old stories. They challenge your defenses, and in doing so, they give you a rare opportunity to see yourself more clearly. Let's say your partner gets quiet during arguments, and you feel abandoned. You might lash out. But the deeper question is, what in you fears silence? What part of you wasn't held when things got hard? Conflict is a mirror. It shows you where you still hurt, where you still react, where the past still speaks louder than the present. In the UK, we often pride ourselves on politeness, on keeping calm and carrying on. But sometimes, that very restraint stops us from naming the tension, from sitting in discomfort long enough to learn from it. Jung taught that if you can hold the tension, if you don't run, don't collapse, but simply stay aware, then love becomes a crucible, a container for growth. It's not about avoiding arguments, it's about changing how we meet them. Can you ask not, why are they doing this to me, but what is this stirring in me? Can you shift from blame to curiosity? Couples who grow don't avoid conflict. They approach it with intention. They know that beneath every frustration lies a deeper need to be seen, heard, understood. And when both people are willing to go there, to listen, to soften, to reflect, that's not the end of love. That's its deepening. So the next time pain arises, don't panic. Pause, breathe. Ask, what wants to grow here? Next, we'll explore the difference between retreating into safety and rising into the person you're becoming. At some point in love, you'll reach a crossroads. Stay who you were, or step into who you're meant to become. Carl Jung believed that the soul doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in tension, in the spaces where you're challenged, stretched, made aware of the parts of yourself you'd rather avoid. And relationships? They are the most powerful arenas for this transformation. Imagine this. You're with someone who truly sees you, not just the curated version, but the messy, insecure, still evolving you. And instead of rescuing you or retreating from you, they stay. They reflect, they challenge, they invite. You feel exposed, and yet strangely, seen. That's not just romance, that's awakening. Jung called this process individuation, becoming your true self. And in conscious love, each partner becomes both mirror and midwife, helping birth the parts of the other that long to emerge. This kind of love isn't always smooth. Sometimes it feels like friction, like fire. But it's a holy fire, the kind that doesn't destroy, but refines. Think of the partner who says, "You keep saying you're not creative, but I see it in you. Why do you hide that?" Or the one who, instead of fixing your sadness, simply sits with you in it, present, silent, unafraid. These moments are not grand gestures. They are sacred ones, because they hold space not for who you've been, but for who you're becoming. In the UK, where stoicism is often a cultural badge, this kind of emotional exposure can feel risky. But risk is where the magic lives, where transformation happens. So ask yourself, does your relationship preserve your comfort, or does it call you forward? Does it protect your old story, or help you write a new one? When love becomes a space for conscious evolution, it stops being just about staying together. It becomes about becoming together. And that brings us to our final insight. How love, at its deepest, is not a possession, but a practice. We often think of love as something we fall into, but Carl Jung and life remind us love is not a fall. It's a walk, a choice, a practice. Not once, but over and over again. Real love isn't something that just happens. It's something you show up for, daily, imperfectly, consciously. It's waking up next to someone, not in the glow of infatuation, but in the quiet of reality, and still saying, yes. It's choosing them not because they're easy, or because they never change, but because you are committed to evolving. With them, beside them, through them. In Jungian terms, this is the ongoing integration of the self, the dance of light and shadow, union and individuality, freedom and belonging. And in conscious love, that dance never ends. You'll forget, you'll stumble, you'll fall back into patterns. But then you remember, you return, you begin again. You sit down at the kitchen table after a long day and talk, not just about the day's logistics, but about what's moving beneath the surface. You apologize, not because you're wrong, but because the relationship matters more than being right. You give space, you come close, you hold boundaries, you soften, you forgive, you grow. In a world hungry for novelty and escape, choosing to stay, fully, vulnerably, wholeheartedly, is revolutionary. So love is not a spark that fades. It's a flame you tend, not a destination, but a direction, not a possession, but a sacred practice. And when both partners treat it this way, when they choose not just each other, but the growth that love calls forth, they become something more than lovers. They become pilgrims, walkers of a path that, though sometimes steep, leads to the most extraordinary of destinations, the truth of who you are, and who you're still becoming, together. Let that be your love story, not the one where you're rescued, but the one where you rise,